Hey guys, you're listening to the Soulé podcast. Today I'm joined by Linda Coogan Byrne. Did I pronounce that all right?
You did indeed, yes. Absolutely, Jane.
So obviously you're a music publicist, consultant, managing director of Good Seed PR, and an activist for gender and diversity equality. What I wanted to talk about today a little bit was your campaign you recently launched for Why Not Her.
Yeah.
And obviously, people, if you're already familiar, you can go to support the campaign down in the description below. I suppose even before we get to that, I was wondering, when did you first get involved in sort of the music industry overall, yourself, kind of professionally?
Oh my God, I'm thinking of 15 years now working in the music industry in some way or another. About 12 years full time on a full scale professional level in label management and PR and marketing. And I just played in the same old story as most people that end up in the industry. I played in loads of different bands, and I loved performing, but I loved the business element of it. I loved what went on behind the scenes, and that kind of lured me in more than the stage, to be honest. And I just gravitated towards it and haven't really stopped since.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Did you have any moments over that time? Because just linking into like the reports and everything, did you ever feel like a sense of imposter syndrome, or like I shouldn't be here yourself?
Oh God, it's been many times. I mean, the first 2 years of starting Good Seed, I worked on loads of events and festivals, and I had a chance to work with Nick Cave from the Bad Seeds and the Ocean Colour Scene and the Prodigy, all these amazing bands. And I hadn't actually got a name for the company yet. And I just remember sitting on side stage watching Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and I was like, you know what? I was talking to a sound engineer at the time, I think it was the Village, which is a beautiful venue that used to be in Dublin, but it's gone now. And this sound engineer said, you know what, you should call yourself a Good Seed. Like you're a good person. And that was where Good Seed came from. So I said, yeah. Like, can't really say the Bad Seeds. That'd be too much of a takeover of Nick's whole thing. But yeah, I mean, there was times where I've been, I grew up listening to the Prodigy. I grew up listening to, Suzanne Vega and all these amazing bands, Marilyn Manson, like bands that I'd been exposed to from, childhood. And even like meeting Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin and working with Patty Griffin, like all of these amazing artists. So yeah, there was loads of moments where I was kind of like, wow, how did I just manage to do this? But, it wasn't just fluke. I worked my ass off, I really did. I mean, I got up at 6 a.m, sometimes wouldn't finish till 1 or 2 a.m, especially if there was festivals or concerts, because you have to wait until everyone is out, and you have to, if there's any performers that are recorded by TV or radio, you have to sign the forms at the end of the night, make sure everything is all legal in place and everyone is on the in the tour van ready to go. And a lot of the time with big artists, at the end of the night, they will go and they'll have a few drinks locally, and then you have to try and pin them all down, and go, many a night I had to go to different bars looking for different band members, and then get them all on the tour bus, and some of them would be getting a ferry back across to the UK or to France. And so you learned a lot at the starting points, like. But yeah, there's been loads of times, but then you have to go, you know what, you have to own it, because you work hard enough, like, I deserve to be here. So it was short-lived, but I certainly did at the start. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's incredible. How did you go about sort of creating the gender disparity report? Because obviously it spans from June last year to June this year, if not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously just been working in the industry for so long, and I mean, I've worked in a lot of different genres, like possibly every genre that you can work in, like. And I just always seen this really glaringly obvious issue, and it was, the first and foremost, it was the gender disparity. It was more men are getting on placements and getting on playlists and lasting on playlists and getting more opportunities than women. And depending on the different genres, there's a lot, like say in Ireland, like last year, the only Black artist that was featured in the top 20 most played on Irish radio was Soulé. I mean, Ireland is a multicultural, diverse country at the moment, and it has been the last few years. So why is there only one person of colour on it? So it was kind of, it was leading up to a point, and then COVID happened, and I kind of went, will I do this? How much will it affect my career, my business, if I call out DJs, if I call out head of music,
Yeah.
if I call people for this type of bias, because it's gender bias, it's racial bias. So I was kind of like, you know, this can backfire. But then I think with COVID and everything happening, and I was living in London, and I had gone home to Ireland to visit my niece because it was her 18th, but ended up the country went on lockdown, so I was actually stuck in Ireland for 5 months.
Jesus.
So I ended up working in my niece's little bedroom, like, and I had a desk there and everything, and it was just kind of being around family and really redefining what the important things in life are. And I said, you know what, I have to support my family, I have to support the friends, and I really want to do this regardless of the backlash, because there has been a backlash. You know, I mean, a lot of DJs were disgusted at me for doing this because they were like, oh, we feel that, you know, this is a stab in the back, you're feeding us to the wolves. And that attitude has to change, because the DJs are the ones that are shaping the culture of music in a country. You know, we just did the UK gender disparity report, and both reports, yeah, it's been huge. Like the Guardian did the exclusive, and Becky Hill, who's one of the biggest female artists in Britain at the moment, like she did a commentary piece on it on the Guardian and on other newspapers, and it's been amazing, the feedback. Like we've got over 50 million kind of hits on the report in the last, I think it's 6 to 7 weeks. So it's pretty big, like it's after going viral, you know, internationally as well. So it's kind of, I think it's gone viral because people are relating to it, because every single woman in the music industry can turn around and go, I thought that was me. I thought I wasn't on the playlist because it wasn't good enough, and I thought, you know, it was just people that didn't think my music was up to par with my male counterpart, and that isn't the case. It's deeper than that. It's systemic bias, it's sexism, you know. And then when you go into the diversity side, no, I didn't see as much of an issue in the diversity side in the UK, because there are so many men of color, and I say men because it's predominantly men.
Yeah.
In the you know, radio playlists and in charts and stuff like that, but Black women and women of color are considerably underrepresented. So there is a huge issue. Again, it's more leaning towards women and women of color around the board, as well as other countries. We will be releasing other data reports in other territories, but there's the grand scale of things is it's predominantly people who identify as women and non-binary that are the people that are being affected the worst in the disparity.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that to go from there. Even about on radio, I suppose. Do individual presenters have a lot of authority? Because I know, like, particular presenters, maybe like John Barker or something, would usually do a good playlist, but 98 FM overall, then, you know.
I mean, look at this, like John Barker, Tara Stewart, Tracy Clifford. You know, there's amazing. Roddy Clear, you know, there's so many amazing DJs out there that have their own show. They can play predominantly they want to play, but there's also a playlist that's appointed to radio stations, and what is on a playlist is what is played. Now, there's pros and cons to that, because whilst some DJs and some head of music got back and said, oh, but we playlist women, they might be playlisting women, but they're still not playing them. They're putting them on a graveyard shift at night time, so they're not getting the same exposure as, say, you know, Dermot Kennedy when he's playlisted, or Wild Youth, or Picture This, or you know, all these different people, Moncrief, all these different people that are popping up, and you're kind of going, well, you know, you can't say that they're getting the same opportunities because they're on a playlist. It's when you play them from a playlist. So again, and then you have in terms of the racial parity and disparity, you know, if people come around going, oh yeah, but you know, you have like this 1.1% of the Irish population is, you know, of colour. So by having one person on the radio, that actually substantiates that. And it's, you know, we're actually in the clear there. But that's not acceptable either, because, you know, the Black culture has and music have shaped the music industry all over the world. So that's not a good enough excuse, because if you look to the UK, to the US, elsewhere, it's, you know, Black culture music is massive. It's leading the force within the music industry. So, you know, there's always excuses that people will come up with, and the excuses that they're coming up with are just not acceptable. You know, it's kind of, oh, people prefer male voices on the radio, or, you know, it's just that they have a lot more going on and they have this certain sound, and it's kind of, you know, it's a bit of a cop-out, because
it's just not true, really, is it? Like,
not. For every Gavin James, there's a female counterpart. For every picture disc, there's a female band. You know, and it's just not. It's not acceptable. For every Stormzy, there's a kick-ass, you know, woman of color doing the exact same. You know, so it's just. And it's reflected in the festival lineups. I mean, I just did a piece for the Daily Mirror on the Reading and Leeds Festival. I mean, six headliners back to back, men, all men. You know, if you take the male artists from that poster, there's no women, like, you know, it's just a blank poster. So, but then people are going, oh, it's the booking agent's fault. I don't really think it's the booking agent's fault, because if I was a booking agent, I'm going to want to play whatever, I'm going to want to book in to play whoever is making the dollar, you know, whoever is going to actually make me money as a booker, or make festival money. So it really does lie within radio, because radio are still the place of discovery for artists, and radio lends itself to Spotify playlist. The Spotify playlist is looking at what's going on there, and it's this kind of symbiotic connection that the two of them have. So, you know, there's radio. I feel that radio is really, really at the root of an artist's career span, their livelihood, what they're going to make, what they're going to earn. And right now in Ireland and the UK, that for whatever reason, radio is prohibiting women from earning a fair and equitable living, and women of colour, you know, and it's just not acceptable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even, yeah, like I was meant to maybe actually stress before we dug into it, actually, like, because people might hear about like radio play as if it's somewhat antiquated, but it is still very much responsible, obviously, for sort of breaking an artist, co-signing an artist.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
Even in America, I mean, 90% of the consumer market in America is dominated by radio, you know, in the music industry. 90%, like, in America, that's massive. In Ireland, it's very much so. I mean, all you have to do is look at, say, 98 FM, like, they have played 90% male artists in their top heavy rotated domestic artists on their playlist in the entire year. And the artists on that are Dermot Kennedy, Niall Horan, Marty Guilfoyle, Academic, Gavin James, same as 2FM. Although 2FM like have really turned things around in the last few weeks since the report has been published. Before the publishing of the report, they were 90% male artists, and the only female was Amy and Soulé. Roisin Murphy very, very rarely was played, but again, it's Dermot Kennedy, Niall Horan, Marty Guilfoyle, Academic. You know, you go to Today FM, 95% artists are male. Again, you look at the frequency, it's Dermot Kennedy, the Academic, and Niall Horan. So you can look at what radio is doing. I mean, you cannot say that radio is not responsible, because what every single radio station across the line are playing are the same 5 to 6 male artists in the top 5, you know. So you're kind of going, right, well, it does actually substantiate. And you look at who's doing well in the market, and it's not, and it is them artists. Like, Dermot Kennedy is the biggest export Ireland has seen in years. Like, so it's definitely reflective of who succeeds and who doesn't. And, you know, FM 104, 100% disparity, all male artists for the last 5 years consecutively. That's really bad. You know, you've Beat FM 95, you know, it gets worse, you know. And I mean, even going through the data when we were putting the report, I put the report together with a very good friend of mine, Anya Tyrrell, who's an amazing folk musician and a poet, songwriter. And she did the visual graphics for the report. I did the data. And we were going through the data and we were going, this can't be true. Like, this can't be correct. I had to go over it and over it. And, you know, even the morning when we were publishing the report, we kind of just, you know, we were on Zoom because Anya's based in Australia, and we were like, right, we're going to do this. Like, we're just going to do it. We're just going to put it out and see what happens. And, you know, it went viral. It trended 5 times on Twitter. Everyone, like, you know, it was the Times, every single newspaper. And it was amazing. But radio, silence. Nobody, tumbleweed, you know, nothing, absolutely nothing. No radio station in Ireland has made a public statement, bar RTE Radio 1, and they were the only station to have 50-50 gender parity. So it's a little bit disconcerting, and you know, it's why are they silent? Why aren't they speaking out about it? Like, why aren't our press officers making statements? It's just it's very interesting, and it's very telling. And what's disappointing as well is that none of the male artists, absolutely none of them, from Dermot Kennedy to the Coronas to Hoysier to, you know, any of the male artists in the top 20, especially the top 5 most played, have stood in solidarity with women. Not one of them. That's really, really disappointing.
Yeah, like you know, the more you spell it out, like the more eye-opening it really is. Yeah, I mean like it does baffle belief that, you know, like you're saying there, like almost 100% disparity for 5 years consecutively.
Yeah,
Like it just baffles belief that at some point there wasn't, you know, like something that that rang alarm bells. Uh,
yeah, yeah. And the CEO of FM 104 is a woman, you know, and it's so it's not. People go, oh, you're a man hater. It's not got to do with that at all. It's just there's a systematic occurrence there, and it has to be addressed. You know.
Yeah. No, and I suppose it almost creates, I suppose, this like self-fulfilling prophecy. Like the more they play an artist like Dermot Kennedy, the bigger he gets, the more
Yeah,
opportunities, the more like he's, you know, sort of permeating and, you know, ads and stuff, and that brand recognition gets more and more. But if he was replaced, I suppose, with, you know, insert, you know, whoever like want to replace him with, you know, it'd be the same sort of thing. So when they
I
say,
told
you know, like, oh, they, you know, this is what the market wants, it's like, well, you know, you might have broke them, you supported them, you know, and you
you.
might be able to do the same for someone else, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Reggie Snow, like the likes of amazing artists from Ireland. I mean, Reggie's huge. Evans Jr., Chris Cabs, you know, Bark, Joy Crooks had to, you know, it's in London. She's doing amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Erica Cody, like Loa, all these amazing diverse artists from Ireland, and they're not featured in any heavy rotation playlist across any radio station, and they are amazing. They've massive amount, like millions and millions of streams on Spotify. So
Exactly.
some stations we're finding go, oh, well, if something's not trending on TikTok or Spotify, we kind of have to look at who is. That's absolute BS, like, because this, so I've created a playlist on Spotify that you can find. It's called Air Diversity,
Mm,
and it's basically celebrating the Black community and the people of color community in Ireland that are making music and creating music and sounds and beats and DJs. And I mean, it's incredible the amount of talent that's there. And you're seeing a tiny, like 1% of these are played on heavy rotation in Ireland. And
exactly.
it's absolutely crazy. Because you look at Joy and you look at Reggie, especially, because I'm naming these because they're so huge
Yeah.
internationally. But
Yeah.
yeah, Ireland have turned their back to them. And this has to, you know, this has to be addressed. It has to be spoken about. And you know, I have represented Black artists, and I've sent music to radio programmers, and they're like, oh, we just don't think it'll fit on the show. I'm like, why won't it fit on the show? But like, I don't get that with white artists, you know. So it's just kind of there's it's glaring, you know, and it needs to be spoken about. And when you do mention it, it's like, oh, you're an angry feminist, or you know, oh, you're a lesbian, you know, this type of
Yeah.
absolute tripe, you know. It's
Just a
people
second.
just get aggressive when you present something to them. And the important thing here is that data doesn't lie. Data isn't my opinion, it's a fact. It's this is here. I didn't make it up.
Mm,
So I think when you step outside the realm of an opinion based piece and you present a data based piece, it needs to be looked upon in a very serious way, because these are facts. This is how the culture of Ireland is being shaped, and it's
mhm.
being reflected because, you know, you're seeing a lot of artists that are leaving the country to try and succeed. I mean, I'll go
Yeah.
back to even my Anya, who helped me with the report. She had to move to Australia, and she's very, very successful artist in Australia.
Mm,
And you see, you know, again, like Reggie Snow, and I mean, Rock Strong did well for a while. Then they didn't know what to do with him,
yeah.
you know. So it's kind of like, wow, like we have this treasure trove of diversity in this country. We could totally be like the UK because we have the same amount of talent. But I think that radio stations in Ireland still don't know what to do with Black artists, and it has to be addressed.
And does it even go as far, Linda? Is it maybe because when I think of those top five artists like Dermot Kennedy and like Niall Horan,
Mm.
this is it a preference against sort of like hip hop and that change? Are we just slow to adapt to like these new sounds overall? Do you think, or
Well,
like
I think that those that are making the playlists on radio stations is predominantly white male artists with a guitar,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and they're regurgitating and spitting out the same old sound. I mean, there's some bands that you can hear. I mean, no offense to Moncrief or no offense to any of these, you know, JC Stewart and all of these guys, but they all sound the same. They all
Mm,
sound the exact same.
mm,
You know, I'm kind of like, is that Ben Howard, or is that who's that? Who am I listening to here? Like, they all sound the same. I mean, what variety is the spice of life, and that should be, again, what radio plays should represent the culture. And I mean, if you look towards the marriage referendum and all of these amazing, you know, huge celebrations of really culturally changing campaigns that have happened in the last few years. Ireland is a progressive country. We embrace it. You know, it's there, it's fact, it's the proof is in the pudding. So why are radio stations slow to also embrace it? You know, and again, I have to give kudos to 2FM, because Adam Fogarty is the new head of music there. He just took over from Alan Swan, and I had spoken to Adam very briefly. And, you know, there was no official statement made on 2FM, but you know, they were very conscious that they wanted to fix what you know, the issue, and they did. They turned it around. It's now 45% gender parity on the station in the matter of 6 weeks, which is really amazing, you know. And they have fantastic diversity on the station as well. So I really have to say, if it's so, that's how easy it is to be done. So I don't know why the rest of the radio stations, why the likes of FM 104, 98 FM, Spin have done well. Spin have gone up to 30%, which is very good. But you know, there's no reason why they can't do this. They can literally do it overnight. It's that simple. No reason why they can't just go, you know what, put our hands up. This is, thanks for pointing this out. This is a huge issue. Oh my God, we weren't aware. Because there is such a thing as, like, you know, unconscious bias. And I think a lot of them are raising their hands going, oh, we weren't aware of that. But now they are aware of it. We've presented this on a plate to them and gone, right, okay, you might not have been aware, but now you are. So let's try and fix this together. And I mean, you can, like, a lot of people have said, oh my God, you know, on Twitter and Instagram, because there's been a lot of back and forth with DJs, and I've been so polite, and I will continue to be polite, because I'm not attacking anybody. I just want to talk to them. I want to help them to make that transition, to kind of go, right, okay, well, this is what was going wrong here, and this is how we can change it and progress towards it. And again, with the UK, like, I'm working with Nadia Khan of Women in Control, an amazing music manager and media industry guru. And we've done so many, we've done TV, we've done loads of press, you know, it's done a lot in the UK. And again, getting Becky Hill and other amazing, Camille, amazing crossover of artists and DJs and producers, female producers as well. You know, that there is that, like in the UK, within the first day, Shane, we had Bauer and BBC make comments and pledge to do things better in the first day of releasing the report. Like, literally publicly made a statement in the Guardian, like, we are totally dedicated to making this better. So you're kind of like, wow, if they can do it, and they're massive radio conglomerates in the UK, why can't they do it in Ireland? You know, and it's nearly it's June 24th is when the Irish report was published, and they still haven't. Nobody has done anything of a public display of taking a pledge to make a difference and to change towards more diverse and gender equal playlists. You know, it's just really disappointing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jesus, yeah, like just the more you dig below the surface, like the more just glaring it really is.
Yeah, and I mean, who's behind the playlist on Irish radio? White men, you know.
Yeah,
predominantly white. There are some women on playlists, but the majority are white men.
But it's even, you know, like, not that it's still not even possible for them to appreciate, you know, different types of music. It's just seemingly like, as you're saying, maybe this unconscious bias or what have you. But like, as we were kind of saying, like, every single artist that they're breaking kind of sounds the same, like, whether, you know, it's someone with a guitar and stuff. That's
jingle jangle, I'm a white dude with a guitar. Like, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Dermot Kennedy, I think he's brilliant, but I'm really fucking disappointed in him. Sorry, I have to curse, but I really am. I'm so disappointed in him as an artist and as a man, that he will not stand up in solidarity with Irish women and the, you know, amazing diverse array of artists in Ireland and in the music scene in Ireland. I'm really disappointed that, and the likes of Hoysier, who people would look up on as political and you know, very enlightened man, you know, very educated man, and he has remained silent, you know. And why is this? I think it's because the status quo benefits them, and they don't want to take away from their status quo, because if more people start sharing the airways with them, that reduces the airtime that they're getting. So you have to kind of look at that as well and go, well, wow, you know. there's a big enough pie there. You know, this women should deserve a slice of it, you know. And it's not about, and I don't mean that in a deserving way that they deserve it. They're good enough. They should have a slice of the pie, you know.
For sure. And even as you pointed out at the start as well, even people of color, like, I mean, even There's No Reason, you know, God Knows, and, you know, all these other fantastic artists as well. So
I mean, look, Tyler, like, I mean, you know, so talented, you know, there's so many amazing, I mean, there's just so many. I love Keto myself. I think Keto is amazing. If, you know, there's Shukra, they're after splitting up, you know, there's just so many amazing bands out there. And, you know, Alicia Ray, you've Uli, you've Boy Wonder, you know, you've Pat Lagoon, there's so many brilliant, Dee Lewis, you've so many amazing artists, and they're just being, you know, silenced off the airwaves because I don't think radio know what to do with them, and that shouldn't be the case. They should look at the music. They should listen to the music without looking at the music, if that makes sense. I think when they look at it, they kind of go, oh, what do we do here?
But even
So
like I think Pillow Queens, or like all, you know, like just like no obvious reason that like you know, they're not getting similar radio play to the script, or
yeah,
you know what I mean. It is so strange.
Yeah, and I mean, we are like, and I have to say, there are definitely massive increases in airtime allocation to women in music, and to, you know, bands that are kind of putting out new. They're not playing back catalog or anything, because when I put out the report, I did a kind of a Dropbox link where I just said, look, anyone that feels that they've been silenced off the airwaves, I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of music, and I just sent it out to radio, and I said, look, if you want to take a look at this is all the artists that you have just shoved to one side, and, you know, there's plenty of diversity there. There's a lot of female artists as well, if you want to take a listen to it. And, you know, there's definitely a shift towards, I mean, most of the artists that would be like left out of the report, I can see Pillow Queens like being playlisted on Radio 1 now. I can see, you know, Lisa's plays are really up, you know, and that's not, I mean, they've amazing publicists behind them as well, you know, but when reports like this are released, it allows communities within the industry to start talking. And I mean, I know myself, like, there's been loads of people going, who does Linda think she is? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, there's a lot of backlash there, but I don't care, you know. I mean, I'm like, I don't care. If it's going to benefit people, I will take this stick. It really doesn't bother me. But it's great that this conversation is opening, because it's absolutely clear that there's more diversity on the airwaves now. There's more women being played on Irish radio than there ever has in the last 10 years. And that is something in itself. And it's saying, but it's still very small. It's like a 20% here and there, like of uptake on women being allocated. And I want to keep a really close eye to see if it's just performative. Because a lot of the time, as you'll see with the Black Lives Matter movement, there's a lot of people doing performative posts and like, I believe in equality, I believe, like, you know, racism should end, but they're not doing anything to actively solve the problem, you know. So there's definitely a lot of performative stuff happening. So I just want to keep a close eye and make sure that, you know, in 2 months' time, that 2FM still have 40% or 45% women on their playlist, and that, you know, Spin, so they're the only 2 stations, because none of the rest of them have really increased, but Spin 103.8 and 2FM have really upped their game. You know, they've really responded in a very good way. That's responded, when I say responded, I mean reacted, because they actually haven't publicly responded, but they certainly have reacted to the report. But I mean, there's a lot more stations in Ireland that needs to come on board. So if you look at it and think that's only 2 stations, there's a huge issue, you know.
And even just as you were talking there, I suppose, and you kind of touched on it there with the performative side, like it would be important as well that they don't just stagnate, so that they don't grab, you know, Denise and, you know, whoever else and just keep them playlist, but never look for any more, if you know what I mean.
Totally. Like, they can't be tokenistic, you know, and we can see that they were tokenistic with Soulé. I mean, I can't imagine what it's been like to be Soulé on her own as the only Black artist on. I mean, I know the likes of you know, a few of the other bands, like the my God, the name of the band escapes me now, but there have been a few, you know, guys on the list there, but there's very, very, like Tebby Rex, like, you know, but there's very, very few, you know, and it can't be just tokenistic. It has to be more than that. You know, you have to look at an artist and look at a band and hear their music and not see color. You have to see the music for the quality. If the quality is there, it should be bloody well played. Like, it should be supported, and it shouldn't be about race. It shouldn't be about gender. And this whole thing of, oh, did you see that drummer? Like, you'd never say, did you see a man drummer? Did you see that man drummer last night? Did you see that man, that male guitar player? Like, oh my God, that male guitar player was cool. You'd never hear that, but you hear people going, oh my God, that woman playing the guitar. You see a woman playing the guitar? Like, that's a woman behind the drums, you know. That narrative has to change. And I don't think that narrative will change until it's embraced by the curators of culture, who are our media. They are our radio playlisters, and they are our Spotify playlisters, and they are our music supervisors that place music on TV shows and films. And, you know, I mean, if you look at Orla Gartland versus Wild Youth, I mean, Orla has massive amount of Spotify streams. She has over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and she has very, very little airtime support in Irish radio. But then you look at Wild Youth, who have just over 20,000 followers on Instagram, about 5 million Spotify plays, and they are played off the air on Irish radio, like millions and millions of impacts on Irish radio. So you're kind of going, something's not adding up here, because if Orla has over 100,000 followers on Instagram and massive amount, I think it's over 50,000 on Twitter and Facebook, and like millions of plays on Spotify, why isn't she being put on the radio, you know? And because she's definitely on paper doing better than Wild Youth. But Irish radio aren't backing her. But imagine if Irish radio did back her, because the demand is clearly there. Exactly. You know, she has the fan base, she has the reach. It's the exact same with Reggie Snow. Reggie Snow is massive, like Lucan guy, like absolutely brilliant artist. He's like basically all over Europe. Like, I think he's in France right now, and he's absolutely killing it over there. You know, he's putting out amazing music. I've not heard Reggie on the radio over here. Just haven't heard him.
I know.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. But he's a white guy, or he's a black guy from Dublin. Oh my God, what do we do with him? You know, this kind of, it just has to change. You know, it really does.
Like, going back as well, like, it's baffling almost that this report, like, you know, and fair play to you for breaking this story, like that this report wasn't ever brought to attention sooner, if you know what I mean. Like, you almost surprised at some point.
I can't believe it hasn't. I don't think
you're kind of looking around like, surely someone, right?
Yeah, because I mean, like, Shane, like, I was kind of going, you know, it's like someone that the person that designed the post-it, they were like, surely loads of people have designed a post-it before me. It's common sense. Like, people are going to want to stick notes on things, but nobody did before the post-it was invented. It's just kind of like, I think a lot of people probably would have thought it was already done, so they just didn't do it. But, you know, it was just kind of, and I have to say this, and this is another thing that's disappointing, I have had no support within the PR community, none whatsoever. No PR person has said to me, contacted me, or music manager, none of them in Ireland. But in the UK, I've had amazing support from major, like, huge players, huge managers. But in Ireland, nobody, because they're either afraid, or they're intimidated, or they don't want to have any association with it because they don't want to step out of line. And that is a really big issue, you know. And you're talking, you know, I'm saying not one PR, not one music manager. And I have contacted him, I've sent him the report, and there's been nothing, you know. So that speaks volumes as well.
Absolutely. And I suppose, Linda, because I don't want to keep you too much longer, and I really appreciate your time. Just to wrap up, I suppose, with the Why Not Her campaign, if it was successful, what do you see as maybe some of the steps that you could take when that gets funded? Or is there anything maybe that the community at large can do to, you know, sort of force the hand or hold the feet to the fire of, you know, radio or whoever it be? Is there anything that maybe listeners or anything can get involved with?
Yeah, it's really sharing the like, sharing is caring, you know. It's getting the word out there. I mean, with Why Not Her, and it's whynother.net, we're doing a GoFundMe campaign, and the money is basically like I've spoken to the BAI, who are the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland. They have said they can do nothing, which is a joke. And they said, you know, there's nothing we can do. You know, stakeholders in radio, we don't want to upset this person, we don't want to upset this person. And it's kind of, you're kind of going, but you're setting an entire gender of people in the music industry when you're okay with that. But what we have really blatantly, glaringly seen is that there's no legislation in Ireland for that actually stipulates gender and diverse equality on broadcasting licenses, and that's what we really need to change. So when the lovely Parliament and government resumes on September the 15th in Ireland after their 6-week break, a joke, we want to have as many people ready as possible to get in touch with the officials, to write letters, to post to them, to email them, to at them on Twitter and any possible platform you can get, and ask and request that this is put into legislation as a civil liberty. Because if it's not put into legislation, radio stations they haven't responded because they don't have to. They don't have to. And that's why they're not responding, because there's nobody pointing a finger at them going, you actually legally are obliged to do this. They're not. They can do whatever they want, absolutely whatever they want. So FM 104 are laughing, going, we don't have to do that. Let that one melt off about it. It'll dwindle down, because that's what happens in news. While news stories grip the public's imagination, they can only hold on to it for so long. It really quickly evades the attention, and media headlines blow over and things get forgotten. And this is something that just can't, because we can't keep such a large part of the public and totally oblivious to what's going on, because they're just thinking, oh, Dermot's on the radio because he's good. Because we've had so many people contact us going, and comment going, oh yeah, but lads sound better on the radio, and just these really uneducated kind of responses and comments and trolls and stuff going, oh, that's because men sound better, men are better than women, because they're not aware that there's Orla Gartlands or Ruth Ann Cunningham. I mean, Ruth Ann has 3 billion, that's 3 billion, not million, 3 billion streams across Spotify. She's written for John Legend, she's a Grammy Award nominated producer. She's written for Niall Horan, One Direction, Britney Spears, BB Rexa. I mean, Avicii, the list goes on. And she's living in London because she's not making money in Ireland. Ireland didn't do nothing for her, And then she did Irish Women in Harmony in COVID, and it turns out to be one of the biggest hits in Irish, history for women releasing music. And they're on the Late Late Show this week, and it's amazing for them. But it took 38 or 39 women on one track to get that type of leverage. Dermot Kennedy is one dude with a guitar. I mean, it's ridiculous, Yeah, so if anyone is listening and wants to that wants to do something towards it, just visit whynother.net, check out what we're about, what we're trying to do. It's more diversity on the airwaves, more women on the airwaves, and just to share the message. And there's a volunteer page as well if anyone wants to volunteer. We have some amazing volunteers in our group, and they're working around and working in the background, and they're getting loads of stuff done, And if anyone wants to make a donation, they can go to the GoFundMe page, the Why Not Her, and that money will be used to hire a kick-ass legal team to try and change the legislation as well. Because if the politicians and the ministers don't want to do it, we'll have to take it the legal route.
Yeah, and if I can, just one last question, because does that exist in the UK at the moment, the legislation around some sort of quota or something like that, or
BBC have it written into theirs, and BBC didn't fare too well in their report. BBC Radio 2 they fared fine, but BBC Radio 1 and BBC Radio 1 Extra didn't do very good. So, we have been in touch with them, and they have said that they will absolutely look to change it. I mean, BBC Radio 1 was 85% male. BBC Radio 1 Extra was 72.2% male, or 76.2%. So, there's a big disparity there. So even though it's written to their, they have it up on their website and everything, they're not following it, So there is, there's a lot of work to be done.
Again, fair play for you, fighting the good fight on this, Linda. You want to shout out any of your own socials and Good Seed and obviously the campaign will be in the description.
You can find me anywhere at Linda Coogan Byrne, and you can find out the hashtag. If you want to find out more about the disparity reports, you can just follow the hashtag Gender Disparity Radio Ireland, or IRE, as in IRE, or Gender Disparity Radio UK. And my company site, the PR marketing company, is goodseedpr.com, and you can find us anywhere at goodseedpr.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, Linda, honestly, I really, really appreciate your time. yeah, this is probably the most illuminating, probably the most important episode that we've done, and probably full stop. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
No problem at all. Glad to be here again. Like, you know, I'd take any platform, any opportunity to speak about this, because it's a conversation that needs to happen and people need to be speaking about it.
For sure.